Well, welcome back to our interview segment of our breakfast. Today we're looking at something that is not regular, that is sometimes considered to be technical for the public, trading on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. What does it take and what exactly goes on there? Have you ever bought shares? Did they help you? Did you lose? Did you profit? These are the dynamics of trading on the Nairobi formerly Stock Exchange, now Nairobi Securities Exchange. We'll begin to understand why it changed. It comes at a time when the NSE is celebrating 60 years of existence, which was marked this week, I think on Tuesday, in a ceremony presided over by the Deputy President and the opening of the new headquarters in Westlands. Welcome to the show, Mr. Peter Mwangi Munene, the Chief Executive Officer of Nairobi Securities Exchange. Why
Thank you, David.
I'm grappling with Nairobi Securities Exchange. What is it all about?
Well, first of all, I'm Peter Mwangi.
Peter Mwangi, yes, not Munene.
Not Munene.
Yes. I should know that. I should also disclose that we have a history.
We have a history,
We
yes.
were in college at the same time, so we were year mates.
And Munene is actually a very nice name, but
you prefer Mwangi.
But it's not my name.
I like that. I should know, yes.
Yes. But
Right.
going on about names, we changed from Nairobi Stock Exchange to Nairobi Securities Exchange because we wanted to make our intention very clear.
Right.
We want to offer products other than just stocks. So we want to introduce other sort of securities. And we view ourselves as a venue for the listing and trading of different types of securities. And over the coming months, we will be introducing quite a few new security types to be traded on the market.
When you talk about securities, you know, the ordinary person is hard-pressed to understand what are securities.
Security mean police.
Yeah, exactly. So when you talk about securities, these are technical terms. In fact, the ordinary members of the public hardly understand what goes on at the Nairobi Securities Exchange.
Tell us what stocks are.
What are stocks? Maybe we just,
Because
for purposes
stocks, there's something as shares.
Yes, you know. And what are securities?
And what are securities?
Just
And what
sort
are
of breaking
securities?
down
Yeah.
that.
You
It's
need
not
to-
an
you need
academic
those
class,
definitions.
but I'm sure you can break it down a little more.
The share is I'd say a basic type of a security. It represents a fractional ownership in a company.
Yes.
So you are actually an owner of a business.
Yes.
And I think that is a very valuable opportunity that we afford Kenyans.
Yes.
Because even if you are a retail investor with small sums of money to invest, you can still own a part of some of Kenya's best companies. The leading companies in this region are listed, and you can be a part owner of that business.
Yes.
So the other type of what we are calling a security, which really is a financial instrument, would be a bond.
Yes.
In which case you are not an owner of the business, but you are a lender to the business. It's a form of debt security.
Right.
So the company borrows money by issuing a bond, and you buy a part of that debt.
That debt.
And that's a bond.
Right.
A share is a part ownership of the business.
So that is what you bring back to sell, or that's what is sold.
That is what is now being
called
bought and sold on the exchange.
a stock. So a stock is like a share,
Yes.
and the securities are like bonds.
And the
when
security
you bought it.
includes all of them. It includes shares, it includes bonds, it includes real estate investment trusts, it includes exchange traded funds, it includes derivatives, it includes a whole range of instruments.
Yes, yes. Now let's look at the performance of this trading going on at the Nairobi Securities Exchange. What are the trends like? There has been a report recently that there's a decline in the trading on this on the Securities Exchange, affected, of course, by economic and the economic environment. Or is this true, or is this wrong analysis?
Well, it is true that on a day-to-day basis, the market will go up or go down, whether it's the general level of prices, which is reflected in the index, or the level of activity, what we call the trading volume or the turnover. That fluctuates from day to day. Yes. But I think what is important is the long-term trend of the market. When I started in the market, our total value of the shares issued in the market was less than 200 billion. Now that has grown over the last 10 years or so to 2 trillion. So whereas there's fluctuations in the short term, the underlying long-term trend is very clear. The market has grown more than tenfold since I've been involved.
And that is which period of time?
That
2 years?
Say from 2012 to
now.
From 2002 to now.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
You always use the word index, and there's a point they give some point. It has gone up. I mean, it's
NSE index.
What is that index?
The index is a very telling figure. It's calculated on the basis of closing prices of selected stocks.
Yes.
So, for example, when we talk about the NSE 20 share index,
Yes.
what we mean is that we've taken 20 of
companies.
the leading
20
shares.
companies, yes.
We look at what the price was yesterday at close, and then we compare that to the closing price for today, and we do an average for the 20 shares. So that tells you whether the price levels are generally going up or generally going down. So the index will move to reflect the changing prices of the shares in the index.
A lot of people have shed tears for buying shares. A lot of people have rushed to buy shares in companies which are listed on the NSE. Then after a period, the shares collapse or decline in value, and people make losses. A lot of people actually make losses on the stock exchange, but others, celebrate. What are the dynamics in the trading, and if you are an ordinary Kenyan, in buying and selling of shares?
It's true. Shares, the share prices can go up or they can go down, and I think it's important for investors when they are looking to make investment decisions to either engage professional advice, or if they have the time and they're inclined to do it, to carry out the analysis themselves. But obviously the key driver of share price performance is the performance of the company itself. If the company is doing well, it is well managed, the business is growing, their earnings are growing, they are distributing more and more dividend year on year, the price will be trending upwards. And so the trick is to identify those sorts of businesses and the sort of business that you'd like to own anyway.
Yeah.
But the other thing is to focus on investing for the medium to the long term. Because if you buy your share today and next week it has gone down, I would not advise that you then quickly sell and take that loss. If at all possible, and you are patient and you wait, a couple of years later you'll probably be making money. A good example, I think, is Safaricom.
Yes.
A lot of investors came in during the IPO. The price went up for a bit and then it went back down. But the investors who have held that share since it was listed in 2008, they bought it at 5 shillings.
Yes.
Now it's at around 12 shillings.
Yes.
And they've also been earning a dividend every year since. So if you think of it in that time frame, you are likely to come out on top.
But in relative terms, I am one of those who hold that there are better investments than investing in stocks or shares. Is a share business, investment in shares, an ordinary person's... let's say a guy has got 100,000 shillings.
Which is not much.
Which
Which is not much. And a lot of Kenyans who have bought shares in Kengen, in Safaricom, Revi Pingo and all these places, are people of that caliber who put the little money there, hoping they'll make a kill after 1 year, 6 months. And they get disappointed.
What we would like to do is to offer investors a choice. So for example, the real estate market has been doing very well over the last, say, 10 years. But if you're a retail investor with 100,000 shillings, you are not likely to be able to make an investment in a commercial property, for example. But if we are able to put properties in a vehicle, which then issues units which can be bought or sold on the market, even for a modest investment, you can now be an owner of property.
Yes.
That's what we are seeking to do by introducing real estate investment trusts. you will have an opportunity as a retail investor to invest in other types of investments other than shares and bonds. So you'll also be able to invest in property through the securities market.
Does that mean instead of going to buy a land, or instead of building a house or buying a house, I come through that? Is that what you're suggesting?
Yes, that's the idea. Is that if you want to be a player in the property market, you want to have some investment in property, because
why not go and buy a house or build a house or buy something?
Because if you have 10,000 shillings, you may not be able to buy a house.
Yes.
But you can still be able to make a property investment.
Okay.
You can invest in real estate for as little as 1,000 shillings.
Now there are people called stockbrokers. Actually, a person, an individual like me, cannot go to the stock market and buy anything. I have to go through a broker.
You have to go through a...
Who charges me money? Why can't I come to the stock market and buy? Why do I have to go through a broker?
The idea of a stock exchange is a fairly old one now, and the way exchanges have evolved over the centuries, starting I think in Amsterdam, the model was that you needed an intermediary, and that intermediary performs a useful role. Ideally should perform a useful role for the investor. First of all, they'll give you financial advice, and secondly, we are able as an exchange to have controlled access to our system. So I think it's valuable for investors to have someone to talk to. It's a model that is common in financial services. If you think about insurance, for example, a lot of the policies that people take out, they take out through their brokers, who then has a relationship with the underwriter, and that broker provides a valuable service to the policyholder. It's a similar sort of arrangement in the capital markets.
Suppose I have got a 5 million bob, and I give the stockbroker to buy shares for me. He is the one to tell me what to buy. He is supposed to advise me, or do I tell him buy this, buy that?
It really is up to you. You could have very specific ideas about what you want to buy, and in that case you instruct your broker, buy me so many shares of this particular company, and then he just goes to the market and executes that trade. If on the other hand you go to him and you want advice, what should I buy, then they should be willing to provide you with company research to understand your particular situation, because it's important before you invest to understand what are your financial needs, when will you need the money back, what kind of risk are you willing to take. All those are taken into consideration in arriving at what is an appropriate investment for the particular investor.
With that 5 million shillings of mine, and I give the stockbroker and buy whatever you want to buy initially, does that man stay there, or he's supposed to trade again and go to the stock market and trade with that money I give him? He just keeps it there?
He is not supposed to trade on your account without your instructions. So,
but I don't know. I'm an ignorant person. I'm a farmer in Meru. How will I know about?
If that
but I give him my 75 million. I give him.
That's a fantastic question.
What will I do?
If you are that farmer in Meru, my advice to you would be, find a collective investment scheme, and there are many providers of such schemes.
What is that?
So you'd go to, say, an insurance company, and they have set up an equity fund. So what they do is they get investors to invest in this fund, and they manage the fund on behalf of those investors. So from your point of view, you are still participating in the equity market, but
not through a stockbroker.
Not through a stockbroker,
but
through an asset manager who is managing this fund. You can get in and out.
Can you give names?
There's a whole list of them. I mean,
the most famous,
the ones that come to mind. Old Mutual has a big one.
Promote some of them.
It's hard. It's hard to.
Yes. Without
but there's a whole list of collective investment schemes, and that route is very good, because when you buy a unit in one of these unit trusts or the mutual fund, you already have a diversified portfolio, as opposed to going to pick company X,
Yes.
and then company X may go down.
Would it be useful in the interest of Mutegi and his other farmers to have these lists of potential, useful unit trusts or equity investment firms listed on the Nairobi Stock Securities NSE website or somewhere, so that question would not arise? Because the challenge I find is that there's little education in the public about exactly what NSE is about, trading there and trading profitably, so that people don't go home with tears.
Yes, I think we can do a better job of engaging with the public and educating the public on the investment opportunities available. There's always a summary in the newspapers of the performance of these unit trusts and mutual funds.
Yes.
But it is very difficult for the average person to
read or understand.
To read and understand what that summary is saying. So what we are seeking to do now as we reposition our brand is to make ourselves more approachable and more relevant to the average Kenyan on the street.
In fact, what is the competitor to NSE?
There's two ways of thinking about it. We are the only licensed securities exchange in the country.
Which was a problem, because other people wanted to establish a parallel or other securities exchange.
The law is very clear on that.
Yes.
The regulator, CMA, can license another exchange.
That's right.
Yeah. But in terms of actual competition, for that shilling that is in your pocket,
invested, yes,
you have many avenues of investing. For example, a lot of investments have gone into land and into property.
Yes.
Yeah, and those investments by and large have bypassed the securities market.
Yes.
And obviously we want to be able to facilitate investments in property as well.
All right. Yeah. Okay, we'll get back on further discussion of that. But, there is a bit of interest in this from our viewers. Remember, you can be part of this. You can text us your comment or question to the Chief Executive of the Nairobi Securities Exchange right here, 22422. But let's hear from Johnson Mwakazi what the public is saying.
All right, thank you so much indeed. We appreciate, of course, this is more of an informative session. And Peter Mwangi, somebody here just wants to appreciate you. This is Major Retired Mwangi from Mbakazi. Mbakazi says, well done for a good job. Well done, Captain, for a good job, a job well done at the NSE. All right, let's move on to the questions. Somebody is asking here, what is the difference between stocks, bonds, and debentures? Second question, why is Safaricom company consistently declaring huge profits in terms of billions of shillings and yet always declares meager dividends to its millions of shareholders? That is Noah Abongo from Nairobi. Another one says here, still on the same note, Kitale says, I bought Safaricom shares through Discount Securities company. When I changed my phone number, I have never received dividends for 4 years. Safaricom says I should visit the broker. The broker collapsed. What do I do? That's Clayton from Kitale. Another one, Felix Cheriot from Nairobi says, why don't Nairobi Stock Exchange have an online platform like brokers and time delays for a transaction to go through? And then another one, perhaps, this is more of a request, Bwana Peter Mwangi. Hi Makali and the team, I have a degree in finance. Can Mwangi afford me an internship at NSE? It's interesting, more so how he explains. I'd really love to be part of them. Please talk to him for me. So perhaps the question is, do you have opportunities and how can
that
people...
guy has just made a job application verbally, but we know that today you have to write and sit on a panel to be interviewed by HR. But we'll pass him the number so that he can talk to you about the opportunity you can get to be either an intern or to get a job at NSE. So, back to you. Safaricom declaring dividends every year, huge. Others are not. What's the thing? But I guess you explained that in a different way, but you can just...
Well, I think that in thinking about what level of dividend a company is paying, one has to remember how many shares they have issued. So Safaricom has 40 billion shares issued. So when they issue a dividend like they did in 2009 of 10 cents, that's a dividend payout of 4 billion shillings. Now they've moved that to, I think it's over 30 cents per share. That's a total dividend payout of something like 12 billion. So when you think about the actual dividend that is being paid out by the company, it's a sizable level of dividend. It's actually, you know, one of the highest payouts by a company. But when you now divide that by the many number of shares available, it looks small. But let me also say this. If you bought this share at the IPO at 5 shillings, over those, from 2009, over those 5 years, you've already received a dividend of more than a shilling per share for an investment of 5 shillings. And on top of that, your share has increased
in value
by another 140%. To my mind, that is a competitive investment. It's a decent return.
Yes.
It's
better than if you went to open a kiosk and sold milk and groceries.
It is certainly a competitive return, and with less hassle.
Okay. And there was another query. In fact, somebody asked, okay, what in ordinary terms is a dividend? I get it. I know what it is. But to the ordinary people, what is a dividend? Somebody's asking.
A dividend is, I think, the simplest way to explain it, the company you've invested in is in business.
Yes.
So they
make a profit. And you share of that profit.
And then they decide to actually pay out part of that profit. And that is what is a dividend payout.
Somebody also mentioned the one debenture. What's that also in this?
Well, it's a bit of a technical term. When a company borrows, they can have secured borrowing or unsecured borrowing. Now, if they've provided some sort of security, you can have like a debenture over the assets to back the borrowing. So I wouldn't want to go into the details of it, but it's a form of borrowing.
Yes.
What has happened to this country? Because previously there used to be public offers. Many companies used to offer, but we don't have them anymore.
I think that
over years
we now have just over 60 companies listed. We've been around for 60 years. So on average that works out to about 1 a year. The level tends to vary with the level of the market. My own sense is that when the index is around the 5,000 level, like it is now, more and more companies come to list, because people don't want to list their companies when the market is depressed. So I fully expect that in the course of this year we will see a number of listings, not just on the main market, but also on the growth enterprise market segment that we launched last year for smaller and mid-sized companies.
Somebody asked
talking about public offers. I mean, companies saying, come buy shares. I used to see people queuing all over, buying shares from...
Or privatization. Okay, no, not privatization, but actually share offer.
Yes,
share
IPOs.
Yeah, IPOs.
I expect that we will have
them of them anymore.
We will have some IPOs this year. Yes, we will.
Why
the seasonality?
The question is, what is that an indicator of? Does it mean companies, the economy is not prosperous enough to support enterprises' profitability?
I think it could be attributable to a variety of reasons. On the privatization front, of course, we've had challenges with the Privatization Commission.
Yes.
And there really haven't been any privatization transactions completed.
Right.
So that's one source. The other reason why companies want to come to market is to raise capital to fund their growth.
Yes.
But you want to do that, as I said, when the market is right. Because remember, each of these companies
have money.
Yes,
to actually buy or invest in those, to take up the...
In fact, when
the shares.
they always oversubscribed.
oversubscribed.
Yes.
I think the money is there.
Yes, the money is there.
The money is there. Because even when you look at the issuance of, say, government bonds, infrastructure bonds, they are always oversubscribed.
Right.
So there's money in the economy.
Mm.
The exchange is a platform for mobilizing
That money.
those savings
Yes,
for productive investment.
yes, yes.
So really, the issue is on the other side, to supply the transactions for the money to invest in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was one time when the former Prime Minister made a very sensational, statement about the Nairobi Securities, NSE, being the place where people go to clean their money, dirty money, and buy stocks, money laundering, drug money, and so forth. What is the potential or possibility that happens or is happening?
I think the possibility is very remote. Remember that when you go to your broker and you give an order to buy shares, you will have to effect payment
Yes.
through the banking system.
Right, right.
And our banking system has very stringent know your customer requirements, anti-money
Source of the money,
laundering,
yes.
controls and checks. So it's a broader issue than just the securities market. And my sense is that the banks have a very good handle on anti-money laundering. So unless you walk to your broker with actual cash, and I don't think any broker would accept that,
Yes.
you will have to make a bank payment by check, by RTGS, and so on.
Yes, yes.
So the
You have
banks,
systems to check and
the banks,
establish.
yes, the banks will are on top of it.
Right, right.
Let's go back to brokers. I know insurance brokers can con people. Is there a possibility that stock brokers can con people? I know they have collapsed. Some have collapsed because of mismanagement and blah blah. What assurance do we have when I go to a broker that I know the best one, or I know the one that will not con me?
That's a very good question. We had a problem with some of our brokers. I think that was 7 or 8 years ago. Since then, there have been very significant reforms in the market. So we have changed the way the market operates, from the shareholding of the brokers, to who sits on their boards, to how they do their business, to the people they hire, to the systems they run. And it's not a coincidence that we haven't seen any other repeats of such incidents in the last 7 or 8 years.
But there was an issue last year, I think last year, of a broker. Those people connived, I think, with central bank. And I think one broker is in court. And they made a lot of money. Young people made millions, 100 million through some corruption. How did that happen?
As you've said, some of these matters are in court, and obviously it's not prudent.
You can't talk about, but how does it
talk
happen?
about issues which are in court. But if crimes are committed, the people responsible have to be held accountable. Secondly, the issue of fraud is a reality that the financial services industry, more broadly, whether it's banking, through card fraud, or insurance, is something that we have to... Before the market became vibrant, say up to 2002, there was very little fraud in the capital markets. But when we had a bull market, then the fraudsters are attracted to where they think there's money. We have...
Explain that one. Also, we know bulls in
when it's vibrant.
We don't know about bulls in
it's robust.
when the market is doing well,
it's called a bull market.
It's a bull market.
And when
it is doing badly, it's a bear market.
Yes. When it runs slowly. He's in an economics class.
Yes.
As many Kenyans are. But there's somebody who says, with regard to those brokers are really the concern of many people. Somebody says the brokers cheat old men from the village and sell their shares, and they run away with the money. What can they do to recover their money, please? This is somebody called Rotich from Kericho.
My advice to Bwana Rotich is he should report the matter to the exchange, to the Capital Markets Authority, Because as you know, since 2007, the Capital Markets Authority have set up the Capital Markets Fraud Investigation Unit. So we actually have police officers in the capital markets to deal with this sort of incident. And those responsible will be brought to book.
Okay. In fact, somebody asked, what is the difference between NSE and the Capital Markets Authority? These terms, man. The world, the country, you trade and you are out there and people are here and they don't know what all these things are.
The NSE is the operator of the market. We are the market.
Yes.
The NSE was started in 1954. Before independence, we've been around, as you said, for 60 years.
Yes.
The Capital Markets Authority is a government body set up to regulate
your
the capital markets.
Yes.
And they were set up in the early 90s.
Yes, yes.
So they are the regulator for our sector, and we are the players in the sector.
Okay.
How do they regulate you? I mean,
they set the rules, they summon the players, they order them around.
They approve they approve most of the actions that we take. For example, if you wanted to have an IPO,
yes,
it would have to be approved by CMA. And they also approve the people who are the key officers in brokerage houses, in investment banks. So they have wide-ranging powers given to them by the law to supervise the market and to take enforcement action against any market malpractices.
there was an issue about ownership of the Nairobi Stock Exchange. Who owns it? And I think there was issue about is it the ownership or the question of Nyaga Stock Exchange and those issues? Can you tell us what that was?
The discussion around ownership of the exchange has now been concluded.
Yes.
The exchange is owned by the Investor Compensation Fund, which has 10% of the market, and the current stockbrokers and investment banks, each of whom has around 4%. So that's the shareholding structure of the exchange.
What was the issue about Nyaga?
The issue about Nyaga, of course, is that Nyaga, unfortunately, is one of the brokerage houses that had a problem.
Yes.
And as a member of the exchange, they would be entitled to shareholding in the exchange. But because they owe investors a lot of money, their shares are basically held in trust by the Investor Compensation Fund.
Wow.
On behalf of
this
investors.
is okay. Somebody, Fred Mudai, I guess Fred Mudai, says, are there legal and practical provisions in Kenya to trade contracts for difference, CFDs, specifically trading the Nairobi Stock and NSE index itself or other indices?
Well,
it's a technical question.
It's a very technical question, and unfortunately we are not there yet.
You're not there yet.
We are not there yet.
Okay.
What we are working to do is to set up a derivatives market.
Yeah.
We intend to set up trading of futures and options. Yes. Initially to trade derivatives on interest rates, on currencies, and on the indices that we have.
Another question, can you please tell us a little more about real estate stocks called REITs?
The REITs.
REITs, yes.
Yes.
Anita, yes.
I think we've spoken a little bit about REITs.
Yes.
A real estate investment trust is a vehicle that is put together by a promoter,
yes,
who owns properties, who appoints a manager to manage those properties, and then sells units to investors.
Right.
So we are introducing two types of REITs. What we are calling an income REIT, a fully developed property with tenants, with rental income, put in an income REIT, and that income is then distributed to the investors in the REIT.
Yeah.
But we've also introduced a different type of REIT, which we are calling a development REIT. This is really for developers who have projects.
Yes.
And you can mobilize capital to complete that project, and once it's complete, then it can transition into an income REIT.
Yeah, there is I'm telling you, a flood of very particular questions which I don't want to put to you. I'll just read to you for interest so that perhaps will inform your thinking as you go back there. Somebody says, please explain underwriting and rights issue. That's Karatu from Nyahururu. Somebody else said, 4 years ago, for 4 years I've not received my dividends from Everready Kengen, and so on. So where do I go to get educative materials about securities? I have shares but don't get dividends. How do I claim? Somebody says, I bought my Safaricom shares through Family Bank, and when I told them to sell them, for me, they just told me they just wait for my check to be sent. It's now 10 months. Somebody, Langat from Eldred, says, I would like to know what happened to discount securities. Another one says, I bought KCB shares, Kenya Re shares through, brokers and went under, and so on. I mean, lots of very particular things. Means like people have a lot of challenges in dealing with the NSE, either getting the dividends or knowing where to buy, and if they're dealing with those brokers, which ones are credible. All these issues. But I don't think we should get into that now. Perhaps that is food for thought for you. You see how you can expand on the outreach to the people that need to buy shares in there.
Yes.
Just as we summarize, I want to, it's 60 years of NSC celebrations this week. What is going forward as we close the show? What do we look forward to? What is NSC planning after you opened a big office, beautiful place there? What are the planned changes you intend to introduce? Somebody has said, change those red shirts. They remind us of how dangerous the place is from the brokers. So what kind of reforms or what kind of plans do you have for the future?
Well, we've been around for 60 years.
Yeah.
We are going to be around for at least another 160. So the exchange is going to be a permanent fixture of this economy. The red jackets, I think that is a tradition of stock markets.
It's red. Red is the color.
And now that we've invested in technology, the traders don't actually come to the trading floor anymore. They trade from their offices over a wide area network.
Yes.
But going forward, I think what Kenyans can expect is that we are going to introduce products which are relevant to their needs. We've spoken about real estate investment trusts.
Yes.
We've touched on exchange traded funds. We've talked about derivatives. Kenyans can expect that we will introduce new products. Right. They can also expect that our existing products, the shares and the bonds, will become more vibrant. We expect a series of listings in the course of the year, and they should look out for those.
Yes.
We are also going to be rolling out channels that make us more accessible. So, for example, we are going to have trading on mobile platforms and online, which
Somebody
should
raised
make
that about NYE.
Yes, that is something that is going to happen in the course of this year.
Okay.
So there's a lot of new and exciting things that are happening.
Right.
We are old and yet very new.
Why is it you have only one stock exchange? Why don't you have stock exchanges in other towns?
The
stock market or what else?
I think what is important is that Kenyans in every county,
yes,
before the, as I said, the physical trading floor is becoming in less and less where the action is. If we can deliver the service over mobile phones to all the people who have a mobile phone today in the country or online, that I think is the way forward. Actually, one of the comments we hear a lot about African markets is that we are very small and we are not very liquid. This is now from global investors, who you will know account for more than half of the turnover on the NSE. So the discussions we are having are around actually having one exchange for the East African region,
right,
which would be more attractive for investors because you have one port of call to access that big region. So actually the trend I expect will be towards the integration of the existing exchanges in the various countries to have one bigger exchange with a lot more trading activity on it.
Okay. I think we'll leave it there. The complaints, from what I hear from Mr. Mwangi, we have not got your dividends, we have issues about what happened to discount securities. The place to go is the Capital Markets Authority, I guess. They can file their...
They can come to us.
Or they can come to NSE and you'll be assisted on, or directed where to go. Congratulations to NSE for 60 years of existence. Wish you the best. Then thank you for coming to share with the public what goes on there. I hope it has been enlightening to you. Keep on watching Power Breakfast.
Thank you, David.